Hi everybody, Kate LaDon here, the host of your weekly Build a Brand show. And this week we are talking about what to do when an algorithm changes. Here's the deal. When you start creating content on social media, undoubtedly there's going to be a point where the algorithm of the app that you're on or the platform that you're on changes. You need to first go in assuming and knowing this. We see this with every social media platform. So early in the days of Facebook, a lot of creators went in, snapped up influence when the algorithm was very much tilted in their favor of getting organic reach. And then of course, we all know what happened there. Facebook pulled that reach back, and then people had to find different ways. Same thing with Instagram. We've seen it over the past year with TikTok, people going in, snapping up things, and then all of a sudden the algorithm changed and their reach went down. Most notably and recently, this is happening with LinkedIn, and a lot of my students are saying, hey, I'm not quite getting the reach that I used to get on LinkedIn. What should I do about it? And it's funny because I told people for years, now is the space race of LinkedIn. Now is where Facebook was like 10 years ago, where you want to just go in and snap up followership and thought leadership because the platform is very friendly to creators. Now, it is my belief that LinkedIn is very, very friendly to creators. In fact, their behavior is continually showing an investment in things like scholarships for creators and looking at different ways for creators to monetize their following. So I believe that ultimately this is a good thing. It's just we're at a point now where the algorithm is kind of right-sizing itself in terms of making sure it's actually providing really great content. This is a time where the women are separated from the girls, meaning you can't just go in willy-nilly and post anything and expect you're going to get a huge hit because the algorithm was tipped in your favor too. You need to be very mindful of what you're posting. You could see this in the last several years of LinkedIn. There used to be a point where if you were just active on the platform and posting links out to articles like Forbes or Entrepreneur, you would get a decent amount of engagement. And then of course the algorithm changed, outlinks weren't that great. And so you really started to see original content come to the forefront. Then we went through this period last couple of years where if you were creating original content, you were probably going to see a fair amount of engagement. And now we're getting to the point where it's not just original content, it's original quality content that's going to win the day. So here are 5 things you can do to ensure that you are leaning into this change instead of just reminiscing about the days of yore. Number 1, now is the time to differentiate yourself. You want to really be clear on who you are, who you serve, and the specific challenge you help your audience with. You need to do this. When an algorithm is super friendly and just promoting content left and right, that need to differentiate yourself and carve out a very specific lane isn't as palpable because you're just receiving clicks and views left and right. But when the algorithm starts to tighten its belt, you want to be clear that the content you're pushing forward is not just getting you quantity, but quality, that you're actually providing value to people. So this is where you want to create and very much state your differentiating factors so you can go a mile deep in an inch wide segment. This is where you can really lean into thought leadership and expertise. But to do that, you need to be able to name and claim the narrow lane that you're in. So that's number 1. Number 2, remember what thought leadership is all about. It's not about you, it's about serving your audience. So stop complaining about your numbers are down or your engagement is down and start focusing on who you should have been focusing on from the beginning, which is the audience that you're creating content for. The thing is, at the end of the day, no algorithm will stop content that resonates, right? Content and good quality content will always win and will always break through because people determine what is resonant and what is not. And that is determined on how much you're standing in a place of service for your audience. So that brings us to step 3, which is how do you ensure you're doing that? And that is called testing and retesting and testing and measuring and testing again. Stop resting on your old laurels of content behavior. Maybe you were always posting out statuses and you haven't tried an article, or maybe you were always writing and you haven't tried a video. When the algorithm switches, this is when you can have a little bit of fun testing different types of content and seeing what resonates most with your audience. So number 3 is test, retest, measure. And then when you do that, you can see what is resonating with folks, what type of content, what topic of content, and then you can really zoom in on that and create more and more and more. Now, number 4 is engage, engage, engage. I always kind of roll my eyes when people come to me and say, I don't understand, Kate, I'm not getting a lot of engagement on LinkedIn. And my first question is always, great, well, how much are you engaging with other people's content? Remember, this is a two-way conversation. It's a two-way street. You want to mimic relationships at scale when you're building thought leadership. If you just expect to push and publish and be on the receiving end without giving, you are not doing your good part of being a great social media thought leader and citizen. You need to get out there and engage with other folks' content to drive eyeballs back to you. This is also great because in doing so, you can see what's resonating and you can come up with content and topic ideas based on discussion threads and comment sections. Again, it's another great way to test and see what your audience wants. So that is 1 through 4. And the last thing you want to do is ensure that you're not resting on keeping your followers on a social media platform. You've heard this from a lot of marketing folks time and time again, and that is the platform might change or the platform might disappear. And if you haven't moved them off of the platform and in to your newsletter or an email list, you're missing out. Here's the thing. Business values, in my experience, especially with online businesses, are always correlate to the value or size and engagement of your email list. And so every day you should be thinking about, how can I provide value and then get that value back onto my email list so I own the relationship with my subscribers and followers versus waiting and counting on a broker or a middle person like a social media network to foster that relationship for me. So you need to be thinking about lead magnets. You need to be thinking about moving people over to richer content on your website, like your blog. And then that way you can ensure that you are owning the relationship and not letting a social media platform that can do whatever it wants to do in its own best interest own the relationship for you. All right, so let's recap. Number 1, algorithm changes shouldn't be feared. They should be identified as the opportunity that they are. Number 2, to overcome this, you want to think about 5 things: differentiating yourself, naming and claiming your lane, standing in service of your audience, and how you're helping them solve challenges and problems in that lane. Number 3, test with different forms of content and different topics of content, see what works. Number 4, engage, make sure that you're having a conversation and not just getting up on a podium and expecting people to show up. And number 5, always be looking to ensure that you can move your folks from a platform to an email list so you can own that relationship. That is how you're not only going to overcome algorithm changes, but thrive in the face of it and turn it into the opportunity it is to continue to build and scale your thought leadership brand. That's it for this week's video. For more tips, tricks, and strategies for scaling up your thought leadership and expertise online, click follow, ring the bell so you can get notifications. And of course, if you have specific topics you want us to unpack on a weekly basis, shoot me a message or put it in the comments section. Until next week, I'm Kate Ladon, and I'll see you again.